Yeah, I think it's safe to say Paul Skenes is ready.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for well over a decade now, and this is my sixth season here as a member of the Locked On Podcast Network. And hey, fans of the show, if you're listening to me every single day and you want to post on Instagram or on Twitter or whatever it's called now, go to Locked On MLB Pods. If you want to follow me, I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram, and leave that hashtag everyday Sully so I know who's listening every day, especially those who are here on the YouTube feed or wherever. And also, if you like this show, you like what I'm doing, also check out Locked On A's, because I am hosting that this year as well. That's right. You get 10 episodes of me every day if you subscribe to Locked On MLB and Locked On A's. Actually, this week, you're getting 6 episodes of Locked On MLB. That's right. I'm giving you a bonus, Saturday episode. So who knows? Maybe I'll give you a bonus Sunday. I don't know how it's going to work. All I know is that I like doing these every single day. Today's show is sponsored by our friends over at FanDuel. Now, FanDuel is America's number one sportsbook. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's a $150 winning with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. I already see there's a few people here on the live feed because we're doing it. Hey, Jonathan Curran there. He's giving me 2 human beings, and they're on fire. Flame on, Human Torch. Let's go to the trivia question. And I'm going to respond to a couple of things. Big fun night of baseball yesterday. I asked the question, the Detroit Tigers won the pennant in 1902, 1908, 1907, 1908, and 1909, making them the first American League team to go to 3 straight World Series as an American League. Which one did they win? And Roger Molina wrote, as a Cubs fan, I know for sure that the Cubs won in 1907 and 1908, so the Tigers won in 1909. Wrong! Scott Horsmeyer got it right. The Tigers won the World Series in 1935, and they dropped all 3 of those that they went to. So, yeah, there you go. They were the Buffalo Bills of their day. So, we have it was a fun day yesterday. We saw there were a pair of potential no-hitters that went on the exact same day. And the first one was Paul Skenes. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Paul Skenes is ready. I'm going to say something brave and say Paul Skenes is major league ready at this point. Paul Skenes, the Pirates superstar prospect, and prospects, as the cliche goes, prospects are suspects until they prove themselves in the big league. Well, Skenes has been pretty dang good, and yesterday was throwing a no-hitter, and it was a day game, and so yeah, I turned it on in my classroom at lunchtime, and me and my 2 baseball fan students were loving every second of it, as was Chris, who was my teacher's aide, who's also a big baseball fan. And Skenes, well, you can't ask for more than this. He pitched 6 innings, not bad. He only walked 1, not bad. He struck out 11 Cubs, an 11-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. And, oh yeah, he let up no hits. 0 hits, 0. A goose egg. He was throwing a freaking no-hitter. And as of this recording, he has let up runs in only one of the 10 major league innings he's pitched. He has struck out 18 batters and walked 3 in 10 innings and allowed 3 earned runs in what has been as good a first 2 games as you can ask for. Well, my teaching assistant, Chris, big baseball fan, was, doing a little bit of the machismo thing, saying they should have let him in. They should have let him finish the no-hitter. To that I say no. No, 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 no. And here's why. Skenes threw 100 pitches. Now, I'm not obsessed with pitch counts. When you strike out 11 batters, you're going to have some high pitch counts. Not a lot of, first pitch, grounder to second. When you strike out 11 batters in 6 innings, that's nearly 2 strikeouts an inning, and which is pretty intense when you stop and think about that. Paul Skenes is there for the long haul. He gave you 100 pitches and 6 shutout innings, and it was a freaking blowout at that point. I think it was 8-0 at that point, which was, even with the Pirates' bullpen issues, that should be enough to hold. Skenes is there for the long haul, and if he had let up an infield single just at one point in the first 6 innings, this wouldn't even be, no one would even burp the idea of having him pitch the 7th. No, it wouldn't even cross anyone's mind. If he had let up, that's a grounder, tough play, everyone did everything right, it just hit it in the wrong place, or a little gork or whatever, and then, okay, that one hit, this wouldn't be a discussion. Instead, because it was a no-hitter, you think, Gavin, be up there and be big and huge and macho. He's thrown 100 pitches at this point. He's not thrown a lot of professional innings. I don't believe in babying pitchers or treating them like John Travolta as the boy in the plastic bubble. God bless you if you get that reference. But I also think that you don't play the macho card needlessly. He gave you everything you wanted. If you had asked a genie for 6 innings of shutout ball with 11 strikeouts, 1 walk, and an 8-run lead, I think I grant you that. And so here we go. You need Skenes for the long haul. And I'm going to get into a little bit why in our second segment, why it's important. I still think I had our good friend Ethan Smith from Locked On Pirates on the show come on, and I was saying, if you're not going to throw him super long in terms of his inning, and he's only pitched, he only pitched like 7 or 8 professional innings before this year. He's not going to be a 200 inning workhorse at this point. That's not going to happen. Take that out of your brain. Men in Black that right out of your brain. Eternal Sunshine of Spotless Mind, it right out of there. However, if you are saying he's going to throw 5 or 6 innings, I still am waiting for someone to tell me why every 5 days, or every 4 days, he pitches the last 3 innings of a game. Every 4 games, it's Skenes time for the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. Whether you're ahead or behind, and you come in, and boom, those last bunch of innings, they're toast. I'd say 4 innings. So if the Pirates are up 3-2 in the 5th, that game's over. If the Pirates are down 6-3, they've got time to catch up. But it's a phenomenal first couple of games for Skenes where there was really only 1 inning where he had a hiccup. And for Pirate fans, you got to be thrilled. Now, there was another potential no-hitter that happened yesterday, which shows a totally different expectation that we have of a player, and one where I was wondering, it probably would have been smart to keep him going, and they did. And it's a little more satisfying when the starting pitcher loses the no-hitter, not some schmuck middle reliever. But more on that in a second. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Supply House. older supplies from the website that's made for skilled trades. That's where you order them, and you can find thousands of parts from hundreds of brands in just a couple of clicks at supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com gives you 24/7 access to a huge selection of plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with fast delivery anywhere in the United States. Need help with an order? Get industry-leading after-sales service from their friendly and knowledgeable customer support team and talk to a real person every time. What a concept! And there's great news for plumbers, technicians, and contractors. Being a pro has its perks. Trade industry professionals can join their free Trademaster program for free shipping and serious discounts on every order. Over 100,000 pros already trust the Trademaster program to deliver results. Apply for your membership today and get a competitive edge on every order at supplyhouse.com/TM. Save money and time when you order online. Order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. That's supplyhouse.com. Hey, where are you getting your sports news these days? Where are you getting all your fresh takes? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you to bring the biggest stories. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube and Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Hey, there was another no-hitter alert, and that was in the game between Tampa Bay and Toronto. Now, Toronto is continuing to be, I think, one of the most staggering disappointments in all of baseball. The fact that this incredibly talented team is probably going to sell at the trade deadline is, I will say, an absolute disgrace. But I digress. Tyler Alexander. At the beginning of the year, I joked about how the Rays, if they could lose players left and right, and some schmuck you've never heard of will come up and start to pitch very, very well. Your Honor, I present a case in point, Tyler Alexander. Now, Tyler Alexander has been a pitcher. This is his 5th full season in the bigs. The previous 5, or 6th full season in the bigs. His previous 5 were as a relief pitcher, spot starter for several lackluster Detroit Tiger teams. He was in the rotation in 2022. He didn't pitch particularly well there. Went back to the bullpen last year. Pitched okay. He was fine. I mean, he was a major league middle reliever, and the Tigers waived him, and he threw a complete. He was throwing a perfect game through the 8th inning. Retired the first 21 batters, but then he let up a couple of hits, and there you go. They had to take him out for the right reason. But once again, the Rays pick up pieces, and lo and behold, I guarantee you he's going to be the Cy Young conversation. But I got news for you. We have a surprise guest on. I threw a Hail Mary, and I saw he was here, and I had some other stuff planned in. But sometimes you got to call an audible, especially when you're doing a live show.
It's true.
Ethan, I don't even have a graphic prepared for you. I have nothing for you. I hope you're not offended.
Oh, yeah, we're good. I think everybody can tell by the mustache and the pit hat what show I do on this network.
Hey, it's Ethan Smith, everyone, of Locked On Pirates, who I saw was in the comments section. And I said, I just threw you an invite just in case you wanted to jump on.
Yeah,
and here you are. This is how it works. It's loosey. It's goosey here on a Saturday, and I'm not going to let you speak. So thanks so much for joining the show, Ethan. We'll talk to you later. No, I'm kidding. Ethan Smith is here. How are you doing, buddy?
Good.
All right. I don't know if you heard the first part of the show, but yeah, I think the right thing was done. There he is. There's my Ethan Smith of Locked On Pirates is here. What do you think? Your boy's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the notes speak for themselves here. So I'll just go ahead and I know you're a history buff, Sully. So I'll
I
read
am.
some of the things that I had because I have about 12 bullet points of history here that happened yesterday. Skenes became the third pitcher in Pirates history to strike out the first 5 batters he faced. Obviously, had the 7 consecutive strikeouts to begin the game. No pitcher for the Pirates in the past 50 years struck out the first 6 batters they faced. The last time that happened was 1974.
Wait, let me see if it was it Doc Ellis?
Possibly. I didn't write down who it was.
Okay.
Also, it took the Cubs 38 minutes to put a ball in play in real time. That was another thing that was like being counted. He broke the record, Sully, for the most 100-mile-per-hour pitches at Wrigley Field by the 3rd inning. Hunter Green had the previous one at 9. He had 10 by the 3rd inning. The ball did not leave the infield in that outing, folks, until a Christopher Morel fly out to Brian Reynolds, which was greeted by cheers, mind you, at Chicago at Wrigley Field because they could not put a ball in play. Obviously, he's the first Pirate to ever strike out 11 at Wrigley Field. It was nuts. I mean, I started laughing solely about how like insane it was. I mean, I genuinely thought through those first 7 batters, I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm like, is he just going to strike out everybody and move on? And he's just such a well-mannered kid, obviously has the Air Force background. And all he had to say after the game to Hannah Mears was, it's cool. Yeah, I did it at Wrigley Field. It's cool. And we're just sitting here like, what? And he's also the first AL or NL pitcher in history to have 6 innings pitched with 10 Ks and no hits in one of their first 2 starts. So he was just breaking pretty much every record. He was playing MLB The Show on rookie difficulty yesterday, just against the Chicago Cubs. That's what he was doing, and it's nuts. Now, obviously, you have the question mark, Sully, about, okay, what can he do against the team not named the Chicago Cubs? He's done some pretty good things so far. Yeah, and I saw Jonathan bring up about Ian Happ, who had the bat throw of the year off the screen down the first base side on a 100-mile-per-hour fastball. He'll make another start against somebody else here, but I agree with everything you've said, Sully, and what you tried to tell me ahead of time is if he wasn't going to pitch a lot, let him go. And so far through these first 2 starts, he had 86 pitches last weekend, 100 pitches yesterday. They're letting him go. Yeah. They're letting him do his thing, and that's what they should do.
One of the dumbest things they could have done would have been to have him like treat him almost like an opener. Like, so you're going to just pitch the first 3 innings. Well, what the hell will that do?
Nothing.
I mean, that's why I said if they were going to do that, do it for the last 3 innings. At least shorten the game a little bit here. But you're right. I mean, they did let him throw 100 pitches in his second game, which is it's tough to it's tough to argue against what they did right there. And and of course comparing that to Alexander, who took a perfect game into the 8th inning. He's a 29-year-old guy without the expectations of the franchise on his shoulder. Every positive game, and he's had a couple of, and Alexander's had a couple of very good starts. He's been part of that. I'm going to make another 80s movie reference. He's part of the swimming pool from Cocoon, which everyone goes into and comes out rejuvenated. But a nice 80s movie reference if you haven't seen Cocoon, wonderful movie. But it's yet another example of a pitcher that they picked up on waivers for the Tigers. Next thing you know, he's got a no-hitter going into the 8th. He's pitched he's had some clunker starts, but even his last start, he didn't pitch particularly well. He pitched deep in the game. And I do give a lot of credence if a pitcher can go deep into a game. If he could give you 6 or 7 innings, even if it's not a great outing, to not blow out your freaking bullpen. Gee whiz, I wonder why that happens every play. Well, they had a strong bullpen, but actually a number of players are hurt. Yeah, because you're only, you're not letting your pitchers go deep. But this is great news for the Pirates. I think this is fantastic news for the Pirates. The fact that you have this, that he is at least 2 games in, he's everything you could want. 2 games in, you can't ask for better. And this is coming off the heels of another good Jared Jones start.
Yeah,
and that's coming off the heels of not a bad Mitch Keller start either.
Yeah, and that's a point I want to make too right now that was made all across Twitter yesterday after the start was made, Sully, is we know that the dreaded Tommy John surgery is going to come after those guys at some point. You know it is.
Yes.
But guess what hasn't come after them yet? Tommy John surgery.
Right.
And if you're telling me that this Pirates team, albeit they're under 500, they have offensive issues, they have bullpen issues, stuff like that. They're 4 games under 500. They win today against Chicago or win tomorrow against Chicago, win that series at Wrigley, they're right there. And I want your opinion on this too. What do you think of a 3-headed monster going into a wild card series where you're facing Mitch Keller, Paul Skenes, and Jared Jones? I can't name too many better trios that I would want in a 3-game small sample size.
And with that is a glorious tease into something I actually did plan to talk about. And I think we should bring it up. But first, hey, you're Ethan Smith of Locked On Pirates, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just tell you something. This is a fabulous time to be a sports fan because you got winner take all time in the NBA. You got a bunch of game 7s, at least 2, maybe as many as 3 game 7s coming up over the next few days. You got the Stanley Cup playoffs. You could have a traditional hockey place like Miami back in the Stanley Cup finals, or will it be Vancouver? Will it be Edmonton? Will it be New York? Will it be Colorado? Will it be Dallas? I don't know, but you can go to FanDuel. That gives you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets for any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to spend on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. That's 150 tomatoes that you can get back. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, it's America's #1 sportsbook. And you visit FanDuel.com to look at the best games coming up. That's FanDuel. Trust me on that. Hey, this is a reminder that Locked On has created the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's available on the Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Day is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channel app. We are here with, hey, who is our interloper? Well, that's Ethan Smith of
it's Rick
Locked On
Roden.
Pirates.
What do you mean? I'm Rick Roden incarnate.
Yeah, there's Rick Roden, maybe Dale Berra, maybe like anyone who played from the Pirates from 1976 through 1988. I'm currently looking at Paul Zavella, maybe. Yeah. Definitely Phil Garner has a shot to be represented there.
And fun fact for you, being a history buff, the Pirates Hall of Fame inductees will be announced on Tuesday for the 2024 class. So it should be a fun little group that they started just a couple of years ago. So we'll see what historic Pirates players or managers or coaches get into the hall this year down at PNC Park.
Will it be Red Oldham right there? Red Oldham, who clinched Game 7 of the 1925 World Series? It's possible.
It is
possible. Pouring rain, in the absolute pouring rain. The Commissioner of Baseball almost called the game after 7 because it was pouring rain and said, you know what? I declare Washington the world champion. But I decided to play it out. The Pirates rallied in the 8th. Red Oldham got 3 future Hall of Famers out. Boom, boom, boom. Consider it, Pirates. Red Oldham. Put him in your Pirate Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Not many Pirates have come out and clinched a World Series for them.
Nope.
You got Steve Blass. You've got Red Oldham. You got Kent Tekulve. Mazeroski clinched the first one, or the 1961. Here's your trivia question. I'll throw the trivia question in right now. I had a different one going. I'll throw this one out. Who clinched the first Pirate World Series? We mentioned earlier that the Tigers lost those 3 World Series, 07, 08, and 09. 09 was won by the Pirates. Who was on the mound for the first ever Pirates World Series title? That's your trivia question. Put it down here in the notes. I just improvised that. I had a different one. I'll save that for another day. Ethan Smith, you were leading me on to a point. I think you were starting to make a point that I wanted to make right here and now. about the possibility of that being a phenomenal potential matchup in the wild card series. I completely agree. I'll tell you the other reason, though, for the long term, you and I talked about this a little bit, and in about 2 weeks, it will be Memorial Day,
Yes,
which is the first real checkpoint of the Major League Baseball season. Now, unless a massive seismic change happens, there are at this point only 2 National League teams that are completely out of it, and that's Colorado and Miami.
Yeah.
Colorado and Miami are both destined to lose 95 to 100 games this year, and they have shown no sense of urgency to change that fact. The Reds are creeping towards that territory, but they're not there yet. Every other team is within 3 games of a playoff spot right now.
Yep.
Which means it doesn't take a lot to get to the playoffs. And we saw last year and the year before, you get that 3rd wild card spot, you could win the freaking pennant. At least have a shot at it. And the Pirates, with the Skenes promotion, essentially made the equivalent of a blockbuster trade without giving anything up. They have added to this roster a legit arm, a legit major league arm, that if he is even 3/4 of the pitcher we think he could be, that's like acquiring a frontline starter. And the key, we know Philadelphia is going to be a playoff team. We know Los Angeles is going to be a playoff team. We know Atlanta is going to be a playoff team. Barring huge injury, Milwaukee and Chicago are going to be playoff teams at this point. Padres, Diamondbacks, Nationals, Pirates, Giants, Mets, Cardinals, Reds are all going to finish around 78 to 84 wins. Every win you can get here and there is going to pile up. And the key is, and you and I talked about this, patch your holes early.
Yep.
If you know you have a hole, patch it so you have it filled for 3/4 of the season or 2/3 of the season instead of just August and September. Because every tiny win here is going to be different. And the Pirates, if they have the 3 top pitchers, if they're pitching well and are healthy and they sneak into that final spot, and I'm going to say that because I don't think they're going to be better than Atlanta. I don't think they're going to be better than Milwaukee. They could potentially be better than Chicago, but they'd be a wild card team, barring a collapse of Milwaukee and Chicago. So if that's the case, and every tiny win here and there counts, if you get into a short series and you got to win 2 out of 3, those are the pitchers you want.
Yeah. And I don't think that there's really any other way of looking at it. I mean, you look at Keller, who's had a kind of shaky start to the year and has had his moments, but he's still the guy that they extended for 5 years, almost $80 million. Then you have Paul Skenes and Jared Jones healthy, as I mentioned. Folks, that's a tough group to be facing. I mean, it really is. You look around the National League, obviously you have the Dodgers and what they have. You have the Phillies and what they have as well. Those are good rotations also. But all those teams you mentioned, like Milwaukee and Chicago and San Diego and Arizona and Washington, even San Francisco, are their 3 best pitchers really matching up with that?
No.
If these guys stay on pace?
Arizona may have it because Arizona does have good pitching when
Erod comes back. Yeah, and that'll help too. But I mean, you look at what teams you're facing in that group and where you would be. More often than not, you're going to like what you see on the other side of the pitching matchup and say, I think we have the advantage here. Now, obviously, again, you have the offensive side of things where, yes, these guys can go out and shove and give you 6 or 7 innings of 1 or 2 run baseball, but you still got to score runs. I mean, Paul Skenes is not going to do what he did yesterday every single start. He very well could, but I don't think he will. And again, we've seen it in the past already where a couple of pitchers get hot and that's how a team goes and rolls through it. Remember the big question about the Texas Rangers last year going into the postseason? They had this potent offense that was going to put up a bunch of runs, but their pitching staff wasn't good and was going to give up a bunch of runs, and that was going to be their Achilles heel. All of a sudden, Jordan Montgomery and all of their other pitchers just started pitching lights out. their
Nathan
terrible
Eovaldi,
bullpen all of a sudden turned around with Jose Leclerc and Aroldis Chapman just shutting games down. And that's just all it takes because it's a different season. The postseason is a different season, but albeit you still got to play 162 and get there. So I agree with you 100%. You know you have a problem at first base with Rowdy Tellez. Fix it. You know you have problems with your bullpen overall right now. Fix it. Get another outfielder with a bat that can hit out there and fix it. Because these guys, one, are healthy and available. Because right now in baseball, especially with pitchers that throw this hard, availability is almost better than having the ace. And right now you have both. You have both.
And the thing is if you have someone, if you get a mediocre first baseman, you and I made this point. If you get someone mediocre, that's better than bad.
Yes.
It's anything that's a tiny step up. I've been, I was screaming the other day with Scott Bentley from Locked On Tigers, who they desperately need help at some of their positions, especially at the bats. I said, you could get Goldschmidt for a song. He's having a bad year, but his contract is running out and he's stagnant. Maybe you're not asking him to be MVP Paul Goldschmidt for an entire year. You're asking to get 2/3 of a decent first baseman, which is an improvement. And maybe there's a ripple effect there. Before we wrap up, I just want to point this out. I'm at baseballreference.com, the single website, the history of the planet Earth. And Kettler, if you take a look at his last bunch of starts, 7 innings against Philadelphia, 6 innings against Boston. Okay, he had a couple of shaky starts against Milwaukee and against Oakland, but even then he struck out 7 in 5 innings. And then his last 2 starts, he pitched a complete game against the Angels, and he pitched 6 innings of shutout ball against Milwaukee of all teams. Yeah. So he is starting, and even in some of his losses, he still has a high strikeout to walk ratio and strikeout to inning ratio. So even when he doesn't particularly pitch well, he's not like being taken out in the 3rd inning. His shortest outing has been 5 innings. So I think that's going to be a good sign for the Pirates. Any last thoughts?
Well, the Pirates have put up 19 runs in the 2 Skenes starts. So if they could find a way to get Skenes just on the field and spread that magic dust everywhere, then I don't think the Pirates are going to have a lot of problems. Now, they might have problems today with Shoto Imanaga on the mound. I think that'll be an interesting matchup for them. But they do play good against lefties this year. So we'll see what happens.
Well, they play well. My mother's listening right now. I have to correct your grammar there. All right. Hey, Ethan Smith, this was an impromptu crossover. If you were reading the little thing there, I was going to talk about Zack Greinke for a little bit. I'll talk about that in tomorrow's show. So where can they follow your show?
Locked On Pirates on Twitter, at MVP_Ethan's my personal Twitter. You can find that show on YouTube. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Find it on all your audio platforms, just like you find it here, because guess what? Locked On MLB and Locked On A's is on all those platforms too. Don't forget that. It's free and available. Just listen to it.
And you get your money's worth. And you can follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called. Hey, look at that, Jonathan Curran. Subscribing to Pirates now. Look at that, buddy. Look at that.
We'll be back on Monday talking all this Cub stuff.
On behalf of my impromptu guest, Ethan Smith, this has been Locked On MLB, a bonus Saturday edition. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Cool, let's get that banner out.